The 9th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Sunday at 5 p.m.
Once again, from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Consider This. I'm Andrea McMaster. Glad that you could be with us today. Well, do you find that you have a hard time figuring out who to call if you're looking for a particular service, hotline, or agency? Well, get out your pens and pencils. You'll want to jot this number down. Now, no more making a dozen different phone calls to find that right solution. You just need to make one phone call. That number to dial is 211. It's a service provided by United Way of the Midlands, and that's what we're going to tell you about. You can talk to referral specialists who have the community's most extensive database at their fingertips. And this week on Consider This, we're focusing on this 211 service. Our guest is Jamie Moore from the United Way of the Midlands, and we're so glad that you could be here today.
Thank you for the opportunity to share with you about 211. As you said, it's a 3-digit, easy to remember number that connects individuals with already existing services in the community. And if someone calls us and we don't have a service, then we'll research that, because we don't have everything in our database, though we have nearly 5,000 entries. People can connect 24 hours a day. They can either call us on the phone or they can visit us on the website, which is www.ne211.org. The website, though, is housed by the Public Policy Center at UNL, and 211 is a public-private partnership all around. Nebraska is among 39 states that now have 211 services. Over 57% of the American population, which is about 172 million Americans, can dial 211 from their homes and very easily access services that are in their community. Now, we don't have it, unfortunately. The website covers the whole state. And that is, as I said, a public-private partnership with Public Policy Center, United Way of the Midlands, the Lincoln Lancaster Health Department, the respite system with the state, the Department of Health and Human Services. We've all come together to pool our resources to make this available to the whole state. However, the telephone at this point in time only covers about 80% of the population, which is only 38 of the 93 counties. But we're working to continually move it across the state and looking for those public-private partnerships that will enable us to bring it to the local community.
Okay, now, well, let's stop there and tell me how that can actually happen.
How that actually happens. If someone wants to bring 211 to their community, they just need to contact us. Let us know that they're interested in it. We will come out and make a visit, explain to them the process, which involves going to the Nebraska Public Service Commission and getting permission for 211 to come to their county or their area, several counties. The Public Service Commission then notifies the telephone company to do the programming, so that that's all they have to push is a 3-digit number versus pushing 7 digits or 10 digits. Behind this is a toll-free number, because we want the service to be available to everyone, because most people may need it when they're most vulnerable, and if they're trying to figure out whether or not they can afford to put this on their regular phone or trying to find the money to put in a pay phone, it may be a barrier to some people getting the service. We're also working with the wireless carriers also to be able to have people on their cell phones be able to dial the number as well.
Free of charge.
Free of charge. We want this to be toll-free. In addition to getting the Public Service Commission to give permission for it to go to a particular county, then we have to gather data for that county if we don't already have data. As I said, the website does cover the entire state, but there are some areas that we would like to gather more in-depth data for that particular area. And then there is a service fee that they contract with us to provide the service to them. Now, the fee is only 18 cents a person a year. So we feel that's very reasonable, and the way that we can do that is because we've been in the information and referral business for almost 35 years. And so basically we had a lot of the infrastructure already in place. And we've been working on this since 1998. And we had the infrastructure in place, we've upgraded things, etc. And so we're not asking for the cost of that, but we do need to keep the data current, and we do have to have someone there to answer the phone because it is a 24/7 service.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yes, it is a 24-hour service.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what the purpose is to have this complete, extensive database available to people. I mean, I can picture those people at home frustrated, looking
Right.
for a service, need a hotline, or even kind of in a semi-emergency situation,
Right.
thumbing through that phone book, getting frustrated.
And can't find what they're looking for. I
Right.
mean, even you and I can go to the phone book, and sometimes, even though we might not be in a frustrated state, we cannot find the number that we're looking for. We're not really sure how it's listed. So they just simply dial 211. They will get a greeting in English and in Spanish. The system will also tell you approximately how long it will be before someone will be with you. If you do not wish to wait, it will give you numbers that you can push, and the phone will wait for you. And when your turn is there, then the phone will dial the system for you, and an individual will come on the line and talk to you. For quality assurance, all the calls are recorded. Now, we do ask people for some data like names and addresses and phone numbers, etc., because we want to collect data to see where the calls are coming from. And sometimes that information is helpful to us if we're trying to make a referral, because certain agencies only serve certain areas or only serve certain age groups, etc., and we want to make the best referral. However, if people refuse to give us any of this information, then that does not stop us from providing them a referral. But it may mean that we weren't able to make the best referral, and we may have to give you 3 or 4 places where if you'd shared the information with us, then we would have been able to narrow it down to that one place that was most likely the place to be able to help you. All the calls are confidential. The call center is located at United Way, and the staff are behind locked doors so that the regular staff is not in and out of the call center. The call center is accredited by the Alliance for Information and Referral Systems, which is a national organization which accredits INR call centers, and confidentiality is part of that we have to abide by the confidentiality. Also, the staff who answer the phone are certified information and referral specialists, which means that they have to have been in the field for a number of years. They have to take a test and pass it, and then annually they have to renew their certification. And renewing that certification means that they have taken so many CEUs or availed themselves of other educational opportunities. So that kind of gives you about the system in a nutshell. Now, in 2004, we got a little over 36,000 calls.
And last year, even more than that,
And
right?
last year, we got 48,304 calls, which was about a 36% increase over the previous year. This year, for the first half of the year, we've gotten over 25,000 calls, which is about a 16% increase over what we got last year. So we know that the calls are going up, and we are there to serve the people, so we want the people to call us. Now, we also have a telephone service, a teleinterpreter service, which allows us to talk to people with a translator with 154 different languages. So therefore, and we also, the relay system for the hearing impaired, that can also fold right into our system.
And
so,
that's a huge reason right there to call.
Yeah.
Those that might call a different number might face a language barrier, but here they're going to be able to talk to
right.
someone.
They're going to be able to talk to someone, and that is available 24 hours a day. That our interpreter service is available, is available to us. We have all kinds of information in the database. I mean, though we don't have everything, but there is a wide variety of the kinds of services that we have available in there. Naturally, we have basic human needs, kinds of things that are in there. We also have things which include your food, your clothing, your shelter, rental assistance, utility assistance, those kinds of things. We also have physical and mental health resources like prescription drug plans, Medicaid, Medicare, people trying to find out how to get connected for those
Which
kinds of
recently has
things.
come really in handy.
Information on, I think they call it CHIPS, the Children's Healthcare Insurance Program that is run by the state. Support groups, people who are looking for counseling, drug and alcohol intervention. We also have things in there about employment service, getting people connected to job training, other educational programs that are available to them. We also have things in there for older Americans or people who are disabled, like where are their adult daycare centers, where are their congregate meals, how do they apply for Meals on Wheels, is there any type of a respite care to help with their particular situation, and home health care. So we've got really a variety of things in the system.
There are so many services. Is there anything in particular that you find more people are calling about or using?
Right now, most of our calls happen to be around basic needs. And we have noticed for the last year or so that it's kind of cyclic, but usually people are calling for help with their utilities. In the fall, we're getting the requests for the heat bills, and right now we're getting the requests for the electric bills because of the air conditioning and the heat, etc. We also have information in there where people can go to get fans or where they can apply for an air conditioner. We also have those kinds of services in there. Not only is this a place for people to come to who need help, this is also a place for people to come to who want to help, because we also have listings for volunteer opportunities, or able to connect people with someone locally in their community that utilizes volunteers and help them get started on that process.
If you're sitting at home, you have a gift in a certain area, you like to serve in a certain way but don't know how to do so, this is also a number to call.
Yeah, this is also a number to call for that. In addition to this, the service becomes very critical during disaster times, and we saw that when we had Hurricane Katrina and Rita, etc., down on the Gulf Coast down there. The states of Louisiana and Mississippi did not have a statewide 211 system, but they do today, because they found the value in times of disaster. Where are people going to call to get good information as to where they need to go to get services? Normally when there's times of disaster, we are notified by the radio, the TV, etc. We get the little beep, 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 beep kind of thing. However, frequently people excuse me, will hear information and didn't quite get all of the information, and so I'm not real sure exactly what they said, or gee, I'm not even real sure which station that was on, what I had the TV on to, or I had the radio on, and so then they want to call the station. Well, the station switchboard would very easily become overloaded if everybody was trying to call the station. But if they call 211, we'll have that information and be able to direct them and give them information, as locally we are a part of the local emergency operating plan, and they affectionately call it rumor control. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about that too.
Right.
Volunteers, people who wanted to offer their services, were calling after Hurricane Katrina,
right,
calling this number.
Right, and our telephone calls really spiked. We normally get maybe 150 calls a day, and some days we were over 300 calls. We got over 400 calls from people who wanted to volunteer. And some of those we were able to connect with agencies to volunteer. Other people wanted to volunteer in the shelter. As you know, Omaha was one of the cities that received evacuees from Katrina. And there was a shelter set up down in the Civic Center to get the people in, get them oriented, and then we moved them to hotels to a more comfortable accommodation. And lots of people in traditional American style wanted to help. Well, that's wonderful to want to help in the shelter, but we had more outpouring than we couldn't use 400 volunteers in the shelter. But we could let those people know that there were other volunteer opportunities that went on every day. Also, if they would like to, that they could register with us to become a part of a pool of volunteers that we get trained and that we can call upon should we have other disasters here in our community. So we felt that was helpful to people. Also, people who not only wanted to volunteer their time, with people who called who had houses they rented, that they wanted to donate their house rent free to someone, or they had furniture that they wanted to donate. We put up a page just with disaster things that then we could, people could do it on their own, go and look at our page, or we could connect them with local agencies that were accepting the furniture, to store and then process, or local agencies that were accepting cash contributions, or though we didn't have a need for them at the shelter per se, that there were other agencies in the community that were helping the evacuees that were in need of volunteers, and so we could get them connected with them. One of the things I'd like to say about volunteering here in times of disaster, because this community has done extensive work through a number of organizations to help us be one of the more prepared communities in the country. We have the Omaha Metro Medical Response System, which is a planning group which has 18 subcommittees that anything that you can think of, we've tried to think of a subcommittee to address that need. How do we work with the disabled during time of disaster? What happens to the pets during times of disaster? Then we need to think about what happens if we have fatalities. What's the process for doing that? And how do we process volunteers? Because we'll have what we call spontaneous volunteers, and we love people to volunteer, but we need to be able to process them because we can't just have them all over the place.
Right.
So we have something called a personnel processing point. So that's a process set up to help these spontaneous volunteers and get them to the right place.
I'm going to just explain here what you're talking about. You're talking about OMERS,
right.
which is a group here in Omaha. It's
right.
We're really ahead of the game in preparing for if there was a disaster.
Right.
If we had something like a Katrina here,
right.
we have already people in place, and it's really
right.
built up with people from hospitals, from the media, from
all
other agencies, right?
Yes.
Emergency Management Agency,
right.
and it's been a group that's just been brainstorming. If this happened here, what do we need to have in place? And it has things in place
right.
already.
We do have things in place, and then there's the Urban Area Security Initiative, which we just got the $8.3 million for, which that is for Sarpy, Douglas, and Washington County, and they want us to have a regional approach so we get to reach out to other people within a certain mile radius. And these two things are working hand in hand so that we're leveraging things that happen in one to the other, because OMERS covers an 8-county area in the metro area. We have some counties over in Iowa, some counties north of us, and some counties south of us. Now, you cannot respond to a disaster without having volunteers. But as I said earlier, there will be the spontaneous volunteer who will come and want to help, and what can I do? Unfortunately, we live in a time when we can't just take somebody in without getting certain information, doing certain check, and putting them to work because of the liability issues that are involved.
So they have to go through
a
proper training.
They have to go through a process, and what we probably will do with spontaneous volunteers is what we call just-in-time training, so that they are processed, and then we will train them for the specific tasks that we need them to do at that time. However, we know that all disasters are local. And so if something happens in this community, we've got to use our local resources first. Then if we ran out of resources, we would go to the state for assistance. If the state ran out of assistance, they would go to the national government for assistance. So if it was something horrific, for the first 24 to 72 hours, they're telling us that we need to be prepared to be on our own. And so that we wouldn't have to do just-in-time training for everything that would need to be done, we're trying to get a pool of volunteers that would serve the Tri-County area. It's called the Tri-County Volunteer Corps, that we will have these people already in the system, already have done background checks, etc. on them, had them go through a basic course about disaster, kind of what to expect, so forth and so on. So then we'd be able to move from that point forward. We're also very fortunate in this community that we have a Medical Reserve Corps. And the Medical Reserve Corps were created to provide surge capacities to the local health department and to the medical community.
And to be on the Medical Reserve Corps, you do have to have that medical background.
Right. The Medical Reserve Corps is for medical professionals, but a wide variety of professionals, EMTs, paramedics, phlebotomists, social workers. We even have some clergy that are involved in RNs, people who are nursing at the bachelor's level. We also have infectious control nurses, etc. As a matter of fact, because of the fact that we had this so structured and had already done background checks, etc., for our members in the Medical Reserve Corps, we were requested to send people down to Louisiana and Mississippi to serve, and in a very short period of time, we were able to get 9 people turned around. I mean, like within several days. The community was very responsive, and I want to thank the businesses in the community who had members who were in the Medical Reserve Corps who, when we called them and asked them could they go, they wanted to go, and their businesses stepped up and supported that. Some of them continued to pay their pay or let them go and didn't make them take leave. And we really appreciate that, that opportunity, because this also was having some trained people who'd actually done it, then come back to our community with some other resources. Now, the Medical Reserve Corps is not just for the time when there's disaster. Remember, I said it was to give the health departments and the medical community surge capacity, which means that they can increase their capacity. So with the health departments, some of these individuals are going to get involved in doing health educations around issues. It could also be that if we had a flu outbreak or something, depending on the situation, and depending on their training, their scope of practice, etc., they might get involved in providing shots, etc. Now,
just for the purpose of time, I know that some of the other volunteer options that you want to talk about is the community emergency response team, which you can be a part of without having that medical background. And that's another place where volunteers can plug in.
Volunteers can be there. We need to get people trained to help us run the personnel processing point, as well as the volunteers that come through here. Now, you have Red Cross and Salvation Army that you automatically think of, and then there are other volunteer organizations in the community that act in time of disaster that have their pool of volunteers. But if we had something really horrific, they may need additional volunteers also. So that would come out of that pool, and during a disaster, they're busy with their volunteers doing what they've been tasked, that they don't have time to go out and recruit additional volunteers. So this is where the personal processing point could very easily fit into that point. We also, getting back to 211, we have capacity so that we can do surge capacity with 211, if you will, that a portion of the center could move to the EEOC. Then within a couple of hours, we can bring up additional phones within our building. And the long range plan is that we could possibly convert our whole building into a 211 call center. With 9/11, Connecticut has 211 statewide, and they were close proximity to New York, so they were asked to bring their system up. And in one afternoon, they trained over 400 people and were able to get them on the phone and being able to answer people's inquiries. Now,
I think we've seen really how 211 can play a huge role for not only just getting plugged in with some of the volunteer services, which there's wonderful opportunities to get plugged in with, but also for people in the community who are looking for the right solution and don't know where to go. And we've explained how to do that. But what I want to, in just the last 5 minutes that we have of the show, Jamie, is to talk a little bit about if someone calls 211, for instance, if they need help with a utility payment. 211 can help them, but then you want to take it a step further with the initiatives program, and that is basically going to say, okay, yes, we'll show you how you, or help you with that utility payment, but we're going to teach you how to spend money, save money. And so you don't get in that situation.
We kind of ask what we call the second question. You present one problem to us today, but then part of that in investigating that or reviewing that with you, how did you happen to get into this situation? And the specialists are very good at listening. So you are calling today because, and this is the extreme case, you want to commit suicide. So we want to know what's happening, what's been going on. Your immediate need is you don't feel, I'm going to make this be a male caller, you don't feel like that you're able to support your family, and your family is hungry. And so in your thinking, if you kill yourself, maybe they'll get some insurance money, maybe somebody will take care of them. But if we can meet that immediate need and get your family that food, and then talk to you about what are some of the other things that are going on that got you to this point. We can connect you with counselors. We can talk to you about, get you connected with people to help you with better money management kinds of things. So there's just a whole variety of things. You've got, the other thing about 211 is we can also connect you with things like, are you aware that if you fall within a certain income category, you have the possibility of being eligible for earned income tax credit, which means families below in the poverty level can get additional funding. So they get money back on that taxes. They get money back on that taxes. They can do things to help them better their whole family. We had one situation like this that a person became aware of that, followed through on it, and found out she could get $4,000 back a year. Well, $4,000 back a year and some planning, then she was able to go back to school, get some more education, be able to get a better job, to take care of her children, and be able to become self-sufficient and get off of food stamps and having to get assistance from the government. The other thing we know is that we have a lot of individuals who come to our community who are trying to get themselves established in America. They come as refugees, and they're trying to find their way through the system. And we are part of working with a group of local organizations to have what they call the Heartland. Oh, I just lost my word.
It's the International Center of the Heartland.
Yep. The International Center of the Heartland. And these agencies are coming together. We will have one place that will be located in South Omaha in the LaFern Williams Center, where it will kind of almost be like one-stop shopping for these individuals, that they can find out about all the things that they need to work through in order to get themselves acclimated to the local community, how they become a part of the system, so forth and so on.
Resettlement assistance, language training, ESL training, social and health services.
Yeah.
And it's really the reason because we're seeing a large immigrant population in eastern Nebraska right now. So this immigrant center is needed.
Yes. And this was another way of trying to address a need that we see out there in the community. United Way's role is to bring people and resources together. And there are a variety of ways that we bring people and resources together, whether it's dialing 211 because you need help or because you want to volunteer, or it's whether making you aware of the Heartland Center if you're a refugee, where you can kind of do one-stop shopping to begin to work with your issues, or if it's making you aware of services that are already out there that you are not taking advantage of, that will help you become more self-sufficient and financially stable.
This is a good place to end, because I know we can continue to talk more, but we have to wrap up today, Jamie. Jamie Moore with the United Way of the Midlands, thank you so much for being here today. And I am going to tell about the website so people can go on and get any more information in case they didn't get it all today, and that is www.uwmidlands.org. And thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Consider This.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at unotv.unomaha.edu. If you'd like to share your comments about this show, call UNO TV at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours.
The 9th season of Consider This is brought to you in part by From the Top, a national program showcasing the musical talents of young people. From the Top can be heard on KVNO Classical 90.7 each Sunday at 5 p.m.